everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori Brame. I am happy you're here. Today I am going to talk about self-boundaries. Boundaries have become kind of this buzzword in recent culture. I know millennials, when their generation was first reaching adulthood, that was the first time boundaries were actually in the common vocabulary, where people were like, oh wow, maybe I don't have to do all these things that I've been doing just because I feel obligated. Maybe I am allowed to protect myself. Now things are very different. Like the word toxic or narcissist, boundaries have been overgeneralized, I feel like. And I don't know if it's a completely healthy generalization, if I'm honest. It's if you really understand boundaries and the purpose behind boundaries, it's so that you can be kinder to people. It's so that you can fill up your cup first so that you can pour into other people. However, I feel like oftentimes it's just kind of used as an excuse to do things that you want to do and not do things that you don't want to do. What has become very important to me in recent years is the idea of self-boundaries. This one is not necessarily part of the common vocabulary, and I really think it should be, because I feel like it's just as important, if not more important, than boundaries from other people. So what I mean by self-boundaries is I'm not going to do that. Like whatever it is, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do that thing. And, you know, putting up boundaries around, like, say, your work environment or a person in your life that might cross boundaries or something like that, that's a little different, because that's you saying no to an outside force. Self-boundaries are saying no to an inside force or impulse. I'm going to tell you 3 self-boundaries that I have around my chronic illness. The first one is I do not Google test results. I found this out the hard way, where I would Google every single test result I got. And, you know, a normal person is going to have a lot of test results that are not quite within range. They might be a little bit too high, a little bit too low, but usually that person is functioning without pain, totally normally, and it's not a big deal. When you have lupus or any other chronic illness that you're super worried about, it's very easy to fall into the Googling wormhole, WebMD trap, trying to figure out how you're gonna die, basically. And without fail, every single test result that I was just like, oh, this is it, you know, this is a marker for whatever I thought it was. Those were the test results that my doctor was just like, yeah, it's a little high, but I'm not really worried about it. The one that I am worried about is, and then they would give me one that was maybe 1 point above normal or 1 point below normal or something like that. That was where they were just like, we need to keep an eye on this. I'm not very comfortable with this. I need you to take this, this, and this, or I need you to change this in your lifestyle or whatever. And so I just set up that boundary probably within the first year of my chronic illness, where I was just not going to Google my test results. And at one point, I actually got to the point where I would not even look at my test results before my doctor called me and explained them to me, because it was just so much wasted pain and energy and anguish, like just seeing how sick I was and seeing how horrible this was and everything. And without fail, it was never the ones that my doctors were actually concerned about. So it really was just a waste of time and energy for me. The next one kind of goes hand in hand with this, catastrophizing. That's a huge word talking about basically taking a situation and thinking of the worst possible outcome of it. Now, the Stoics really like to do this exercise as a way of bringing them back down to center, where it's like, okay, if this happened, what's gonna change? And then kind of preparing themselves for that, and then being like, I'm going to enjoy the present moment. That's not exactly what catastrophizing is referring to. I don't think there's anything wrong with that practice if you can keep it in check. Catastrophizing is not keeping that in check. I'll use a personal example right now. I have one of the lupus symptoms, which is a nose ulcer. It's right there on the inside of my nose. It is extremely painful. It is not comfortable at all. And it is something that is a common sign for a flare. I'm experiencing no other flare symptoms. I feel amazing. I have no other pain. it would be me catastrophizing to be like, okay, this is a sign of a flare. I need to, you know, let my boss know that I might need to take a month or two off work. I need to, and you just start playing out all these scenarios where you're just like, I have to figure out what to do with my kid for 2 months because, you know, I just know that's how long the flare is gonna last, and I know it'll be in and out of the hospital or whatever. Like, that's catastrophizing. So I do not let myself do that. I'm just like, I have a nose ulcer. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. I will see if any other symptoms pop up. They probably won't. It's probably gonna be gone by tomorrow or the next day. It's not a big deal. No, I don't get them all the time, but it is a common lupus symptom, and I have lupus, so it's probably gonna happen. The last self-boundary I have is I do not talk about my illness on Facebook. And I will talk about it sometimes on Instagram. This YouTube is basically completely dedicated to it. But the reason I don't talk about it on Facebook is just because of past experiences. Like, a lot of other people will catastrophize, or they will be just overly sympathetic to me, where they're just like, oh, poor you, you know, I'm so sorry for you and all this stuff. And it kind of makes me feel worse than if I didn't say anything at all. So if I do have something big that comes up, I'll either talk about it on here or I'll wait till it resolves and then I'll talk about it. And at that point, I don't really care. So it's really important to kind of monitor the things that you do and then how you feel after them. So Facebook for me, it's not a good place for me to post my stuff because I definitely feel worse after it. So those are a list of 3 things that I have as self-boundaries. Please let me know what self-boundaries you have, or if you can think of any that would probably be good for you to start implementing. I would love to hear about it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Please like and subscribe if you will, and I'll catch you later.